Welcome to the Premier League in review. Now, this is going to be something a little bit new that I'm going to try and do. Now, I used to do something a little bit similar to this a long time ago, but it used to be like a 20-minute video, and I think people just thought it was a bit too much. Didn't get many views, so I'm going to try something a little bit similar to the 3-minute previews and stuff that I do, and just make it a little bit more succinct and a little bit shorter. Let's just say that. We're going to make it a little bit shorter, but before I get into any of that, this is going to be the first of 2 videos today. The next video that you'll get a little bit later on this evening, about 6 o'clock, will be Alan Shearer versus Harry Kane, episode number 2 of the FIFA 18 series. Do check that one out later. It's got some good goals in it, and if you're a fan of FIFA content, hopefully you'll enjoy it. Anyway, enough of that. Let's crack into and see what happened over the weekend, and of course Monday night, and the big story coming out on Monday night. I have to cover this one first. Is first and foremost, what a performance from Watford. Watford were brilliant. Now, you've got to say, Chelsea, this isn't going to be like videos where I'm going to slag off other teams and rival teams and that, and this certainly isn't going to be the case right now. Chelsea do not look like a team that wants their manager there, and that has already been said by pundits and such like that, and other channels, obviously the Chelsea fan channels and stuff like that as well. But it really is, it must be a concerning thing. Obviously, yes, they're going to be in and around winning the title season after season. They're still in the top 4, just. You know, and so are we, to be fair. We're only just about in it, but we're talking about Chelsea right now. They're just about in it. I think they're a point above Tottenham at the moment, but their performances of late haven't really lent to a team that is going to stay in the top 4, if you know what I mean. So their performance against Watford was, you know, anything. It just didn't. It's not a team that people are mentioning leaders a lot, and you can say that a lot about a few teams as well, but Chelsea was a team that had a lot of leaders, even just a few years ago. I think you had likes of, obviously, John Terry being the big one, Frank Lampard probably being the other big one, Drogba, Petr Cech and stuff like that as well. They were big leaders. Now, it doesn't necessarily look like they have a great deal of leaders in there. Obviously, people are criticising Bakayoko's performance, and rightly so in my opinion. You know, maybe, you know, not the chance at him at the end and stuff like that. It's not something I would do to a player of ours. You know, dig them out for sure, but maybe don't, you know, turn around and say you're effing shit and all this lot like a lot of the fans were on some videos. But he did have a terrible performance, and he got a red card as well. Put his team under much more pressure than they already were against Watford. And like I say, it just looked like really troubling times. 3-0 against Bournemouth last week. They've lost 4-1 against Watford now. They're just about in the top 4. Their performances earlier in the season have managed to get them into a place where they don't lose out on top 4 right now. But in the next coming weeks, who's going to be the most likely to be in the top 4 and who's going to be the most likely out of it? I'm not sure. It's really difficult to tell at the moment. Obviously, Manchester City got a 1-1 draw against Burnley, or should I say Burnley got one against Man City. Man City, at the moment, seems to be going through a little bit of a slump, but you've got to say, Man City going through a slump isn't like other teams going through a slump where they lose. They're picking up draws, they're still picking up points, and they're still distancing themselves away from at least 3rd and 4th, never mind 2nd place. They're still quite far ahead. Burnley are still doing really well this season. They can take a lot of credit out of this season for where they are. Manchester United obviously beat Huddersfield 2-0. Pretty, you know, standard performance there. I think, was that the game where Pogba got dropped? I can't even remember. But even so, it was a clinical performance here. If you're looking at what I'm looking at, it's just my iPad with all the fixtures on it. So Leicester, Swansea, 1-1. Probably a better point for Swansea, to be fair, for where they are in the table. Leicester probably could have done with a little bit more, but even so, you know, they're not going to be necessarily challenging for top 4 like many people would want them to. Brighton versus West Ham, though, that was a decent game. 3-1. Brighton beat West Ham. And West Ham, I mean, you're seeing it. If you look at any fan channels and stuff like that, if you look at the likes of Hammer's Chat and West Ham Fan TV and stuff like that, even Hammer and Talk, people, I don't just mean even Hammer and Talk by any, you know, disrespectful way, but if you look at those channels, you see the opinions of what is going on at West Ham. Not looking good. It really isn't looking good. They look like a team that is on their way down, and if they don't go down this season, they'll most likely go down next season. But Brighton, credit to them, because they put in a hell of a performance, and they've got some decent players. I'm a big fan of that Izquierdo, or however you say his name. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a brilliant player that's maybe underused a little bit. We've got Bournemouth versus Stoke, and Stoke, what is going on with Stoke these days? Stoke just doesn't seem to, I don't know, they've got some, as I say, again, a team that has some quality players, and they just don't seem to be able to put it together. They don't put it together very well. So I don't really know what goes on with Stoke. Bournemouth pick up a much needed win because they haven't necessarily done as well in the Premier League this season as they have done in previous seasons, but any points they get are very good at this time for where that whole bottom 10, I say bottom 10. I say bottom 10 because it is so close in that second half of the table, it really is. Any points they pick up there to distance themselves away from the bottom 3 is absolutely vital for them. West Brom v Southampton, a 3-2. Southampton pick up a win and it's ahead of Liverpool next weekend, or this weekend I should say. So that's a good win for them. Maybe not the best for us, but will come on to us later on. West Brom, I think they've got a visit to Chelsea coming up, so that could be a good one for them. You never know what's going to happen there. They could actually decide a little bit more with Chelsea. Arsenal versus Everton. What do you say about that? That's another key talking point, to be fair. 5-1 they beat Everton. Now don't get me wrong, Everton aren't the best or highest quality opposition to come up against. Even right now, I think they've got a couple of injuries and stuff like that as well. But 5-1, and they were 4-0 up within about 22 minutes or something like that. Aubameyang scores on his debut, his home debut from Mkhitaryan, and he gets 3 assists. What can you say? What can you say? You can't really say that, you know, I know Everton did get a goal, and it wasn't a bad goal. So there are still questions about their defence. Everton didn't necessarily test Arsenal in the way that most teams would in the top 5, top 6. I can't say top 6 because Arsenal are part of that, but top 5. I'm thankful that we don't have to play them anyway with Aubameyang. Bloody hell. Aubameyang and the pace that he's got, he's probably the fastest player in the Premier League over Mohamed Salah, over Hector Bellerin. If Bellerin's still classed as a fast player, I don't know. But even so, Aubameyang's a player that I wanted at Liverpool for a long time. I really did. And now Arsenal have got him, so let's just move on straight away from that one. No, honestly, that was a decent performance from Arsenal, and they'll be buzzing after that one. I don't know who they've got. I think they might actually have Tottenham next weekend, or this weekend, I should say. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Get at them with some of that pace, and you never know what can happen. Obviously, we played. I've done my match review. I'll leave a link in either in an I button or something here. Might be, I don't know which side of it goes to, or it'll be in the description as well. So I'll leave a review to that one. Crystal Palace, Newcastle, 1-1. Not a decent result for either team. Probably more decent for Crystal Palace, to be honest with you. Newcastle, again, look a little bit, not as bad as West Ham right now, but they do look a little bit like, where are they going to pick up their points from? If you know what I mean. Now, I know they picked up a point here against Crystal Palace, but other teams in and around them, you'd expect them maybe to pick up points, maybe a win against someone like West Ham if they've got them to play next. I think they might have already played them twice anyway, so what do I know? But it's just difficult to know. And I do question Benitez's team selection a little bit. When you've got someone like, you've got Dwight Gale, doesn't necessarily start enough games for me. And I can't remember if he did start against Crystal Palace this time. He might have, because I don't think he actually had another striker to call upon. Because the striker or someone that they've just took on loan, or something like that, was it them? It might have been, I don't know. I think they had someone that they had, and they can't bring him on. I might even be completely wrong about that. I can't remember. Never mind. But even so, I've always thought, if you've got players like that Hosselu, and then you've got Dwight Gale. Now Hosselu, even Mitrovic, even though I don't think he's there anymore, he might even have gone out on loan. You've got big target man, small man. So obviously, back in the day, Newcastle were notorious for that. Alan Shearer, Craig Bellamy, the big guy and the small guy, the nippy guy. It works. Now I'm not saying that their strikers are going to be as prolific as Alan Shearer, but you've got to try it. Why not go play with 2 strikers? At the moment, they seem to lack creativity. John Joe Shelby isn't putting it together, in my opinion, in the midfield. The midfield in general just isn't creating enough. They actually seem to be relying more on corners and getting Lascelles on the end of it. It's just not enough for Newcastle, I don't think. And obviously there's 12 games left to play in the Premier League, and anything can happen to them. And on that point, anything can happen in the Premier League to anybody with 12 games left to go. Can you believe that we are already at a point where 26 games have been played in the Premier League and we've only got 12 left? 12 games. Okay? So that's 36 points up for grabs for everybody. Okay? Obviously, no, not everyone's going to... it'd be unbelievable if someone went on and just got 36 points. Most likely it would be Man City, if anybody. But 36 points are up for grabs between now and the end of the season. So I mean... there's a lot to play for here for everybody. It's when you start getting down to it being 5 games left to go, 4 games left to go, that's when things start to look like they're being decided. In terms of relegation, mid-table, top 6, top 4, champion. I still think Man City will be the champions. I believe top 4 will look like it is right now, but with Tottenham in it instead of Chelsea. Okay, don't criticise me too much there, because I think Tottenham still have the quality of a striker, a world-class striker, that at the moment Chelsea don't have. They're still trying to do that whole thing where they'll put Hazard up front or something like that, and it's not necessarily working. Yes, they've got Olivier Giroud and they've got Morata. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be a long-term solution. It screams to me that, you know, I felt that they should have kept Batshuayi if you're going to bring in Giroud. Now Giroud is a different striker. I just feel that Batshuayi is a young lad. He was playing okay. He was getting a little bit better over the last month or so, and then he goes and scores on his debut over in Dortmund as well. And I think on the same day that Chelsea were losing to Bournemouth. So I mean, it's just decisions at Chelsea right now. It comes back full circle to Chelsea right now. I do think that the top 4 will be Manchester City as champions, Man United second, Liverpool third, and Tottenham fourth. I think maybe Arsenal will go fifth. I'm not saying that Arsenal can't even sneak into the top 4 with the strike force that they've just got. The only thing that lets them down is obviously their defence. Now, if they're playing any of the big lads, you know, over the next course of these 12 games, yeah, they're probably maybe going to struggle a little bit. But Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan and Ozil and Lacazette, it's a frightening prospect for anybody to come up against. Let me know what your thoughts are, regardless of what team you come from, or what team you support, I should say, where you come from. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I've tried to be as unbiased as possible, so hopefully that does come across. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. Please do like it and subscribe if you are new around here. Thanks again, and I will catch you later.